I didn't write the book to their game, to the psycho-leftist liberal game. I didn't write their book. I didn't write the rules, but I learned their rules, and now I'm much better at their rules than they are.
Welcome, everybody, to the Warrior Podcast. Today, we do have the most interesting man alive. He has been a DJ. He has been a business leader. He considers himself an entertainment connoisseur, nightclub owner. You name it. We have a lot of ground to cover. He's also the chairman of the Aurora Township Republicans. Please welcome my guest today, Danny Souri.
That was a crazy transition. From a DJ to the Aurora Township Republicans. That was nice.
Well, you are the most interesting person alive. I've gotten to know you, and we're gonna light it up today.
Let's make it happen.
Tell me a little bit about your childhood and a little bit about your lineage.
If you look at it, it's really the total American dream childhood. My parents came here from the Middle East. My dad came from Syria. My mom came from Lebanon. Two Christians. Our family has been, escaping persecution, how it is in the Middle East, especially being Christians. They came here, they met, fell in love. If I have to explain the next steps there, then your viewers are way too young. But I was born here in the States. I'm first generation American. And, I got to see my dad go from a worker, an employee, to a business owner, to work his entire life to take care of him, my mother, me, my brother, the countless amounts of people they've helped, their organization. So I've always had that growing up. I've had a very all-American dream immigrant, first-generation immigrant childhood, really growing up. Interesting childhood, because you grow up different when you're an immigrant. It's that when you're from an immigrant family, it's different. Like in our house, it was Lebanon, 1942. Like that's the way my mother ran that house. Old school morals. Something that a lot of immigrant groups, especially like Hispanic immigrant groups, they definitely know this when they come here. They still have that homogenistic family bringing. They have their culture. They're Catholics. We're Catholic. I'm Catholic. Born and raised Maronite Catholic. I actually wear St. Michael on my chest. But it was a very, should we say, lucky and blessed childhood that for some reason I decided to completely go a different path off of as I got older. But having that base, having that structure was definitely what's gotten me here today, if you will.
And let's just take a little side trip before we get into your story. So,
sure.
Your parents came from another country. Do you feel like people who are native born here, like we sometimes don't get it? We take it for granted.
Depends how far down your generation is. Yes, absolutely. No questions about that. If your parents came here and you're first generation and your parents, your family is together, your community is together, you grow up in that, you still have a very good connection to who you are. You still can sing your songs in your native language, stuff like that. Once you get to like generation 3 or 4, unfortunately, the trend, and there's a lot of reasons for this, whether it's the educational system or the way the country is structured, a lot of people lose that. So like for my favorite was, I grew up in Melrose Park, Illinois. And,
hey, how you doing?
Hey, no, let me tell you, this guy tells me he's Italian. I go, oh yeah? What part of Italy are you from? What do you mean? Oh, well, where are your grandparents from? New York. Okay. Hang on. Okay, so where are your great-great-grandparents from? They go to came around Ellis Island. Okay, where did they come from? When were you Italian? Like,
It's so funny.
it's, that kind of stuff. So I think, yes, it's a definitive statement, especially my favorite group, the whites. I love you, white people. I love you all. But let's be real. Some of you all have been here 140 years. Okay, we've lost a little bit of a connection of their roots of where they all came from, because we're all settlers from somewhere, right? But after a few generations, if you don't work at it, culture. That's the beauty of the American project. People come from different cultures. You assimilate in. You do it legally, the right way. And then you grow into this project, which is what is designed to make America as great as it is.
I was raised by Sicilian grandparents. I'm pretty sure it's the same in your culture.
Identical.
Everybody is welcome in the house.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big center around food.
Oh, yeah.
And, so my grandma, if you would come in, she'd say, okay, Danny, nice to meet you. We'll eat something and then you talk, right? So same thing in your culture?
100%. And I dare you to say no.
Right.
It's almost like if they're not willing to take my food or my cup of tea or my biscotti or whatever, get out of my house. This is the devil here. And it's not like, oh, this person is just rude, I don't like him. No, the devil is here. Get him out. It's all based around that. And that's that really is a part of the kind of the beauty of what makes up my life, is that mentality of taking care of others. Like you come to my house, you could be a stranger. If you're there for something, you're leaving with 3 Tupperwares of food.
Nice.
It's that simple. You can't go to an immigrant household. I don't care. Italian, Greek, Mexican, Arabic, Haitian. I don't care. You're not walking into someone's house without either a plate of biscuits or coffee or tea or something available.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's different. It's a different feel, and people forget that.
We're going to get into the crazy life of Danny here, but
luck.
right now we're in the calm kind of childhood. So, how are you as a student? Are you getting into sports at all as a kid? Tell me a little bit about that.
So, I mean, as a kid, it's funny. So I'm the only Middle Eastern kid in an all-Italian school. I went to Sacred Heart growing up, right? So I was a little bit of the outcast kid. I wasn't, the one wearing the cool Jordans or all the special clothes and stuff like that. So I was kind of like, up until like 5th grade, I was ridiculously picked on. I was, the little Arab kid. I got along with, a few kids here and there, but, the bullies were the bullies, and I was one of the easy targets. Then I hit puberty, and between 5th and 6th grade, and that thing hit me like a ton of bricks. Then I got transferred to public school, got into a few fights, and then it was like, oh, I like getting punched in the face a little bit. Like, I liked taking that bully's head and slamming it into the hand dryer in the bathroom, because that's where we would fight. 3 kids go to the bathroom to fight. One was a witness, and then they'd come back. One kid would be crying. The teacher's like, "What happened?" He slipped. He fell. But then that's when I got into wrestling. About 8 years, 8th grade, 7th, 8th grade. Started getting into a lot more physical combat, taekwondo, karate, the typical stuff you learn as a kid. Then got into wrestling and bowling, out of all things. Bowling, me trying to be like my dad. My dad, to make American friends, he joined a bowling league, I joined one too, 8 years old. Listen, I'm 10 years old. I'll never forget this. 10 years old, I had a 222, 223 average.
Come on,
man.
I'm a career bowler. That's awesome.
Kids league. It was insane. It immediately downhilled after that, but it was great. There was that one season. It was great.
Did you ever bowl a 300?
No. I've never gotten close. Yeah, never even close.
I have 2 of them. It's common now because the balls are so good.
Yeah.
Now they're bowling. They're not even putting their fingers in the ball. They're like holding it like this.
Yeah, and then they're just spinning it. Yeah, it's a whole different game.
Little sidebar in bowling. But anyway, sorry. So you're bowling, you're wrestling,
and then just kind of coming into my groove. At the same time, I'm also working in my father's jewelry store. On the weekends, Saturdays, I'm at work with my dad. Give my mother the break, for having to deal with me Monday through Friday. Summertime, summer vacation, there was no summer vacation. You're going to work every day with your dad. Then you have to learn the business. I learned how to polish rings, set diamonds, go from a wax mold into a straight casting machine.
So they were actually making the jewelry.
From scratch. That's my upbringing. My upbringing was business and sport, really.
All right, so I know this story, so I have to ask you about when you're 9 years old. Tell me the story.
This is so fun. So the biggest thing I always like to do as a kid is my dad's my hero, right? And I was always trying to mimic him. So I'd go with him to the store all this time, and I'd see him. He'd pull out the diamond box. He'd tell somebody, okay, are you looking for an invisible setting, prong, this or that, round cut, princess cut, emerald cut, heart shape, all this stuff. And I'm just mimicking his words. Well, this guy, and if you ever go to a jewelry store, you usually open the door and you got to get buzzed in. You ring a bell, you get buzzed in. And this is the 90s, okay? This is early 90s. And the guy comes up, he gets out of the elevator, and I see him coming, and I buzz him in without him ringing the bell. My dad and all his employees are in the back. They're eating lunch. I'll never forget they were eating seafood because they all had the little bibs on, okay? It's the funniest thing to see. Two Arabs, 2 Armenians, a Greek, and a white guy all just covered. It's the funniest thing you've seen. And this guy walks in, and he's like, "Hi, I'm here to buy a ring. Is someone can help me?" And I'm wearing a shirt and a tie and a suit, and I'm a dork, and I'm like, "Yeah, I can help you. What are you looking for?" And I go, "Engagement ring." And I think I made one of my dad's jokes. I don't remember what the joke. It was something like, "Oh, you're giving your life away," or something.
Yeah,
something cheesy. And I went back and forth with this guy, Tom something. I never knew his last name. We go through. By the time we're done picking out a diamond in the ring, we're at like 36 grand.
wow.
Okay, 37 grand. And I go and I take his credit card, and I remember going in the back to my dad, and they're eating. I'm like, "Hey, Dad, I need your help." He's like, "What?" I go, I don't know how to use a credit card machine. He's like, "What do you mean? What is this?" I go, I just made a sale." It's like, "What sale? Who's here?" I go, "Come up front." And my dad, confused as can be, rips off this bib. And to me, I'm cracking up like they're adults wearing bibs. He rips off his bib. He comes up front. He's like, "Hello. Can I help you?" And the guy's like, "No, is this your son?" He's like, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, he took great care of me." And my dad checked the diamond, the prices, and he looked at the guy, and the guy's like, "Yeah, I'd like to buy the ring."
Nice.
That was it. He went back, and then his employees were like, "What happened?" He goes, "Danny sold that damn ring. What the hell are you guys doing sitting here eating?" It was a good time. I'll never forget it.
Do you think you had just natural salesmanship skills?
No, I was 100% mimicking.
I got you.
I was mimicking.
During this time in school, are you a good student or no?
I'm a good test taker. I'm absorbing the information. I was never good with homework. It really just did not draw my attention. Like when I got home, I wanted to create things. I used to love taking things apart, putting them back together, figuring out how they worked. I was really good in science, really good in math. Then we started doing like history classes and political science, and I got really interested in that. I mean, we're talking. I haven't even graduated 8th grade yet, and I'm wearing a suit to school in a briefcase. I'm walking around like a little mini senator. It was hilarious. Don't know what I was thinking, but it was a combination of being a businessman, really getting into politics at that age. And then, just entertainment. I'm a huge fan at the time of wrestling. Like WWF, the old days, Hulk Hogan, the Warrior, Earthquake, the Iron Sheik, those days. And I love the pageantry of it. Mm-hmm. So I was more worried about getting into, I did like plays and arts and stuff like that in school, different scenarios where it was entertainment based. And that's where I get really, I'd amplify my skills, but sitting there and doing, going home and doing these multiplication worksheets. I'm like, I already know how to do this. So I don't have to keep doing this over and over again. Those kind of things just never, I don't know, they never gave my interest. I don't regret it at all because I absorbed the information. It's not a great test taker, but I knew that wasn't the thing that got me excited, even at that young age.
All right, let me pause you here. So you're fearless, and we're going to get to that. I was working out at the Chicago Health Club on Cumberland and Foster, which is close to Rosemont, and it was a Sunday, and me and my buddy, we were benching. And everybody was glaring at the entrance to the weight room, and it was the Hulkster.
Nice.
He was standing right there, and everybody was like this. So I jumped off the bench. I ran up to him. I go, "Hulkster." I go, "Hey, man, you want to grab a workout with us?" He's like, "No, dude. He gave me the Hulk talk. No, dude, I'm whatever.
Not right now,
but yeah, why not? So
quick side story. The spirit of Hulk Hoster, which is like a Hulk Hogan, by the way. He's just a different version. I guess he'd be the liberal version. The Great American Beer. Have you heard of this company?
No.
This is the company that he was the endorsed sponsor for, or the All American Beer Company. And we just did an event recently on 9/11, a Rib Fest event in Aurora. And our liquor distributor backed out 2 days before. And I kid you not, I'm not making a word of this up. I'm looking you guys straight in the face, dead on. The spirit of Hulk Hogan somehow hit my body, and I picked up the phone and I Googled All American Beer and I sent a submission request. 911 Patriot in distress. They called me within 5 minutes and provided 15 cases of beer on the house within 24 hours.
Freaking awesome.
It was like, that was all Hulkster, man. I loved it.
That's awesome. All right, my friend. How do we go from being a wrestler and a student to now I'm becoming a businessman? What happened there?
There's something that kind of always kicked in me, going to work with my dad. It's really what it was. You're talking from 7, 8 years old. I'm going to work with my parents. When my in grade school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, we had a second store in Forest Park. So my mother would pick me up from school. We'd go straight to the store and we'd stay there till 6, 7 o'clock.
Where was the first store?
Downtown Chicago.
Okay.
On Wabash. And the second one now is in Forest Park. So my entire growing up is I'm going to school and then I'm going straight to work. Okay. But it was family business. So it's a little different than punching in on a W-2 job or something along those lines. Right. So I started looking for ways to make money. And I did this through church, actually. This is a good story. So our church would always have events. Once a month, twice a month, there's always a party. Christian Arabs, we love to party. And I would start doing the coat room, working on tips, and running the coat room like a business and tags. And I'd finish in a night with 80, 90 bucks, 100
Wow,
bucks.
nice.
And I'm like, I'm balling. I'm 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. And I'm going to Target. Like I used to love going to Target with 20 bucks. When they would do the book club or market day at school, and we just had a party at the church, I'm buying so many Lamborghini posters and Goosebumps books. Man, I was balling with it, and I loved it. I loved the idea of making money. So by the time I'm 11 years old, and I'm starting to help my cousin, he's a DJ, and I'm basically his slave labor. Totally fine. That's what you're supposed to do when you're that young, right? There was one event. He got hammered drunk at a wedding, hammered drunk during dinner, and passed out. And
he's the DJ for the wedding?
He's the DJ. So I took over, and I didn't know what songs I was playing or what I'm doing. I just remember what CD looked like at what time we played it and what the crowd was doing. And the cassette, we had cassette tapes and CDs. That's how old school we're talking. And I'll never forget it. This room was like a 200-person wedding, and they're jamming out, and people are coming by the booth, and they're looking at me like, what is going on? Who's this kid DJing this party? And I was hooked. Wow. I was hooked. So I worked out, scenarios where I was, cutting lawns, doing some extra hours at the store, or, doing little side jobs, and then booking gigs and events and renting gear until I can convince my parents to let me buy my own. And what I did was I went to a kid in my high school whose dad I knew had a lot of money, and him and I were friends. I go, let me go talk to your dad. I need an investor for $1,500. Wow. That's what I needed. So he went and he told his dad, hey, this kid wants to talk to you. And I showed up in this suit and paperwork. And I'm like, this is what I'm expecting. This is when I can pay you back. And I come home one day with a check for $1,500. My parents are like, what is this? I'm like, you said I can raise money to buy my equipment. You're okay with me being a DJ now.
What is your age at this time?
15.
Wow.
15, because I remember specifically my friend had to be in the car with me because I was on the driver's permit when we drove to his house.
Crazy.
Yeah, that was fun.
So now, tell me, how does the business build then?
At the time, being a DJ wasn't like it is now, where everyone's trying to do it. We were kind of like, we were the nerds. The DJs were the nerds. It was a subculture. So I just started going to all the different grade schools, introducing myself to the principals, like, hey, when you have your school dances, $50 a party, $100 a party. And then in the church, I started saying, hey, let me DJ some of the parties. So they'd let me DJ for a little bit. Then the band would come on. Then all of a sudden, people are booking me to do their parties at their houses, then their weddings. And that's how all of that spiraled. I mean, by the time I'm 18, I'm running a 3 DJ crew. Wow. Yeah.
You're making some coin now? Are you flush with money at that time, or?
Ridiculously. So I'm at like 120. So this is the problem when you start making a lot of money and you don't have the foundation to appreciate what money is, because you just assume it's going to be there. I sat down with my dad because he was really pissed at one point. I'm 18 and I had 19. And we went through all the contracts for the year that I had, and I had generated $125,000.
For a year?
For a year.
Holy shit.
At like 18, 19. And we're talking early 2000s here. And other than buying equipment and some gear and like music, like records, because we had to buy vinyls at the time, I don't know where any of that money went, other than spending it all on friends and food and, stupid stuff to, be like the center of attention. Because that's really what I assumed the industry was at that time. I'm 18 years old at this point. I've already been across the country as a DJ. I've been on the radio at this point.
Wow.
My ego's through the roof at this point. I was a real real diva in my younger days. We'll say that much.
I don't know how you turned out to be so quiet and modest after having
It was a lot of meditation and internal reflection.
All right. So now what happens, when you're 18, you're finishing high school. Take me through the career path then.
Well, so
did you want to go to college or did you go to college or?
I didn't want to go to a regular college, like, that whole 4-year thing, I'd be a part of that. At this point, I'd already DJ'd at so many frat houses and got my own opinion of what college was. And I didn't like I'm not to sit there and study for, a week straight, cram my brain and want to kill myself to pass a test. I always rejected indoctrination. Okay. And what I mean by that is when you go to school, you're being taught what to think. You're not being taught how to think.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was very conscious of that at a very young age. And when my issue with school was always, I don't agree with you. I mean, other than, math, because math is math. Okay.
Right.
That's just what it is. Science is literally the only way science can exist is if you disagree and you're trying to disprove.
Amen.
Right. It's the only way it exists. So I'm like, if these are the foundational principles of how we do these things, I'm not going to go waste 4 years in college when I can build my career and make money. Because to go to college, the way I saw it at the time, I'd have to stop being a DJ. I can't be involved in nightclubs, this and that and the other thing. And, I'm looking at some of my other family members that are in college and they're living at home and miserable. And I say, I'm like, I don't want none of this, and I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to have not gone to college at the time that I would have gone, because that's when education really started switching. That's when things started getting super liberal in school. I believe that this is going to sound wild. God's plan is always going to protect you from your plan when your plan doesn't go the right way. Okay. So like my parents' plan was, you go to college, you're going to become a lawyer or a doctor. This kid, Danny, he doesn't shut up. He'd be a great lawyer. Their plan was for me to go to school. God's plan was not for me to go to school. And if I had have gone to school, can you imagine me right now, an indoctrinated leftist lunatic?
Oh, man.
You imagine how much of a problem I would be to society.
Dr. Evil. You know what I mean?
Oh, my God. So, no, absolutely not. And like when I filmed, a couple years later, we're talking 25, 26, I filmed a TV pilot, self-funded and everything. I got deals that lined up with Viacom to have my own TV show. We were going to film a show in Hollywood. Everything was going great. And when the 2008 financial crisis hit is when I lost my funding for the final piece of my funding, lost my show. And years later, I realized that was literally God protecting me there. Because if I would have went into Hollywood, I would have went into that demonic world and those mansion parties and, people taking pictures with things up your butt as your soul sacrifice. No, thank you. So, I feel like with all the stuff that I've done, there's been protections there that had my parents not raised me the way they did and not instilled enough of God in me, I could have been lost for years ago. I made this comment to you before in another conversation where I spent 26 years in the strip club business and the devil's playground. I came out, no children out of wedlock, no drug problems, no diseases, no nada. I walked into his playhouse and came out, without a scratch.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that and the spirituality portion too. Just a sidebar. I try not to pick a side, right? I never join clubs. We need certainty and we need acceptance as human beings. And a lot of people, it's easy to get that when you join a political party and what have you. So I try not to do that. What I do try to do is use my analytical mind. And I try to critically think, which is very difficult because we all have biases.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I read a real short piece on critical thinking, and it said a critical thinker knows that all information has bias to it. And also the critical thinker knows they have built-in biases themselves, and the biases do not contribute to critical thinking. So if you identify your biases and you try and eliminate them, it opens up your mind.
Big time.
So when we get to the college thing, I didn't realize this, but I read statistically like some ungodly number, like 95% of all the college professors are left liberal.
Hardcore.
Well, that even if you're teaching mathematics, your politics have to be being injected into the students.
100%. So, there's legitimate college courses where they tell you 1 + 1 = 2 can be considered racist.
Correct.
What? So it's like, that's always kind of been a niche of mine, being loving to be in entertainment. Like I had a microphone in my hand before I was 2 years old. No kidding. There's a photo of it. It's grainy and it's like that brownish sepia color, but there's a photo of it. To be someone that can reach people. Here's one thing I'll touch with you on this as a DJ, because I can't stress this enough. There's a difference between a nightclub guy and a wedding guy. Okay. A nightclub DJ, if you're going to go to a nightclub and it's predominantly house music, okay, that DJ might not know what songs he's going to play, but he knows it's a specific genre, a specific group of people. It might be a hip hop club, might be a jazz club, might be a swing club, not swingers, swing music, by the way. At a wedding, you are getting a group of people together that would normally never seek each other out to be entertained. But you're there and you have to entertain all these different groups of people at the same exact time for a wedding celebration. To be able to look at a room and instantly have music ready, because music is what reaches everybody, because everything is on frequency, everything is a vibration, okay? So, and that's across the whole board. There's a reason why certain music makes you better when you're in the gym working out.
They've done scientific studies on that.
So when you're able to go into a wedding and you have a packed floor the entire time and you see a grandma dancing to the Percolator or you see some young kid dancing to Glenn Miller Band because it sounds like something they saw on a TV show, and you can bring people together like that, it's almost transcendent. It's why I love doing life insurance so much, because no one is the same. And if you're going to be a person of service, you can't be specific to one thing. You must be able to critically think.
We're going to get to those parts in the story. So you went from the kind of the DJing and then you got a bug to do a nightclub, yes?
Yeah. So when you're in nightclubs all the time and you're like a DJ or you're a bouncer or you're in that atmosphere, you look at the completed product, which is the doors are open, the music is on, the lights are off, and it's going, and you're like, oh, I can do this. I can create this. I can run this. These owners don't know what they're doing. They don't know what to get their place packed. They don't know how to do, so you get a little cocky, right? So I got involved in a deal. I got a group of investors together and we were going to buy a nightclub, a major one in Chicago. And literally I got all the funds in place. I went and I signed a lease and I went to the city for a business license. And they were like, yeah, you got a lot more stuff to do here. Wait a minute. So it turned into, I got to learn how to do this. And, there's this dram shop insurance and there's the liquor liability and then there's occupancy and the fire code and there's this. Oh, wow. So it turned into a scenario where I went back to my investors and I'm like, yeah, so here's where we're at. They're like, okay, we're out. They were out quick. And it was my ridiculous ego to try to do a deal this way. I ended up partnering up, becoming more of a protege student, if you will, for another business, another nightclub owner. We went into a deal together where I took a small ownership, but it was pretty much, okay, you're going to clean the toilets all the way up to, counting the registers at the end of the night. You're going to, you're going to have to learn it all. So I had them take me under their wing. We eventually got that one open.
All right. And you used the word bouncer. Were you a bouncer at all?
I've done them all. I've done every job in the nightclub.
So you're a guy, you got a martial arts background, you're a wrestler, and you're built like a frickin' 3-flat. So you must have been pretty effective as a bouncer, right?
No, it was always fun when it got down to it and we had to brawl. Thank God, we've never been on the losing side. We'd get roughed up quite a bit in certain scenarios, especially in gentlemen's clubs. You've got naked women, alcohol, and testosterone. And no guy wants to get punked out in front of a stripper.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? But the biggest thing that actually really helped with size and everything else was using that as the deterrent. Really?
Yeah.
Because when you end up being you calmly prevail or you get in, I'm sorry, but a certain guy locks you up. If he knows how to grab you and you're drunk, I don't care how tough you are, you're not getting out of these holds.
Right.
So that's where it became a lot more powerful. It taught me patience. As opposed to just gung-ho in a fight. Once security cameras started coming around and insurance claims, like back in the day, you could take a guy out back, beat the hell out of him, you're done. That lifestyle don't exist. That stopped around 1987, 88. So before my day.
You're in entertainment. You've had to see the movie Roadhouse, right?
Oh, yeah.
So he gets to the club and he's training the bouncers, right? And he's like, if someone's disruptive, be nice.
Be nice.
Then how will we know when not to be nice? He goes, you won't. I'll let you know. Correct. You are the bouncer. I am the cooler, right?
Correct.
So one of the greatest kind of cheesy movies ever.
No, it's so funny because if you take that lesson that cheesy lesson, Patrick Swayze, my goodness. You take that cheesy lesson and you apply it to anything, whether it's business in a negotiation on a corporate merger, whether it's having to deal with your friends having beefs with each other and you have to mediate this thing, or whether it's you're trying to survive when you're locked up in county. That really is the case. There has to be, because I'm really big on hierarchy, there has to be the cooler, there has to be the muscle, there has to be the judge, there has to be the ref, the whole 9 yards. Mm-hmm. So no, I'm definitely with you on that one.
We're taking me through your history, DJ, nightclub, and then what comes after that career-wise?
So I'd always been in sales. So I'd always had a regular job in sales while I was doing that as well. At 18, my first legal job in sales at 18, I started selling cars in Schaumburg. I was right before 9/11 hit.
What kind of cars?
Lincolns and Mercuries. I worked at Schaumburg Lincoln Mercury. Navigators, Continentals. What else were the Lincolns? Navigator, Continental, the Mark 8. And then the Mercury cars. Mm-hmm. But then we have a used car lot as well. But I'm 18 years old. I'm getting into used car sales. And, Monday through Saturday, cars. Friday through Sunday, nightclubs. Okay? Teen clubs, 21 and up clubs, whole 9 yards. We get into, I've done door-to-door lawn care sales. Like if you had weed control and fertilizer, knock on your door. Hey, Frank, you got some crabgrass locked up over here. We can handle that for you. That kind of sales. Online college educations, that was fun. There was this online college company called CTU, and I got hired through a staffing company. Did online, that was a straight up scam. Like if there's any FBI agent wants information on that one, give me a shout. I don't know what happened with them. But then it's always been my own business. The DJ business always did good for me. I can always, pay bills, cover expenses, the whole 9 yards. Anywhere from, $5 to $6, $7 grand a month just off the DJ stuff. So stayed in that mostly, and then kept on trying to get into building businesses. And then I got into the gentleman's club business.
A lot of money goes through there, don't they?
My goodness. And I got involved in one in downtown Chicago, and I got really close with the owners. And then when they left there, they'd opened a restaurant. They brought me along to that because I was really good at sound and lighting and DJing and all that stuff. Then we opened our own in Stone Park. And it was actually quite popular. We got on the news. We were the first people to ever open up a gentleman's club next door to a convent.
Wow.
Yeah, it's all over the news.
Where in Stone Park? What street?
Lake Street.
Okay, yeah. I know where that's at.
Yep.
And I've never been there, but I've seen it.
If you Google Chicago strip club nuns, you won't find anything inappropriate. You'll find a lot of news stories. Those were, should we say, different times. But we opened a major mega facility. We did a lot of stuff. We tried to do a lot of it as art. Like we had the first ever 3D projected costumes where, wow, a girl would come out on stage and you wouldn't see a girl. You'd actually see a tiger. And the scenery would be like the woods, like the jungle. And the tiger would crawl out. And then once the tiger would crawl out and grabbed onto the pole, I would turn her back into a woman.
Wow.
It was all done through hologram, 3D projection mapping, all that stuff. We did a lot of cool stuff like that.
I been to a strip club a couple times in my life for bachelor parties.
Sure.
I never got the concept of it. Watching, don't get me wrong, I love the anatomy of a woman's body, of course, but to go there with tons of cash and get all worked up and lose all your cash, I never got into that.
There's two types of customers for gentlemen's clubs. There's the ones that go out for celebratory reasons, or it's a party night. Hey, we're with the boys. Yeah, okay. And it's whatever. And you're spending money on beers, maybe a dance or two here and there. But then there's the regulars. And those guys, that stuff blows my mind. We'd have guys come in 3, 4, 5 times a week because they were there for their date, and they'd bring flowers and gifts. And we're talking tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, and then 3, 4 different dudes a night. And we're not talking anything. We're not talking prostitution. We're talking all fantasy. Mm-hmm. Like you can't, there's no sex in these clubs, just to be abundantly clear. So all of that over this need to have, and these are like, people that they're lonely people. They have some mental scenarios where, a dancer, her job is, she's not a stripper. She's a entertainer. That's what it says on their independent contractor agreement. They're an entertainer. They're there to entertain. And to see these people fall into that, man, it's trippy. I didn't get it either, but I got to tell you something. There's a secret benefit to working in the gentleman's club business and actually coming from a good family. You become numb to the female body. when you think they're worried about what Trump said in the locker room, you got to hear what these women, ladies, I'm sorry, you guys are filthy speakers in a locker room, okay? Maybe just in that environment. But it was literally like I'm around naked, drunk women 5-6 days a week. It's become numb to me. Like I can't, like these days, if I'm looking at a woman and she's half naked trying to, entice me, I'm laughing like, dude, this does nothing for me. There's not a single thing I haven't seen. So impress me with your brain. Can you get my brain turned on? Can you get me to be intrigued in you as a human, as opposed to just a physical body? It's kind of like the secret benefit of working in a gentleman's club for all that time. I'm completely numb to the temptation of just, raw natured skin.
Okay, so I was always curious about this. You were fortunate because you came from salt of the earth people in your culture, and you made it out of that environment, that stressful environment. Every environment creates certain tendencies, right? So I came from the training floor, high pressure, and a lot of those, my friends, they turned to drugs and stuff, and they derailed. Well, in this environment,
you worked on the training floor?
I did, yeah.
I was a runner and a trade checker at the S&P 500.
No kidding.
In high school, yeah.
I've had a lot of traders on the show. You probably know some of them. So now we have the environment of a gentleman's club, okay? And these girls are making tons of money and they're getting romanced and whatever. Is that creating like a certain type of fame or a certain type of mindset that makes them derail? You know what I'm saying? Are they turning to drugs? Are they becoming alcoholics? Like what happens in the gentleman's club?
Here, I'll tell you right now. If you ever heard this old statement of, girls that say, I'm just doing this to pay for college and to make better of my life. That's about, really, if I'm being a conservative number, I'd say that's about 60% of strippers, of dancers, entertainers, legitimately in it to use it as a stepping stone financially to gain, prosperity in life. It's kind of like they're doing the dirt, if you will, to pay for their colleges, to pay for their ridiculous training programs and all this other stuff. Okay, so I want to say 60% of them, they go through that, they're fine. That other 40%, anytime we had a girl come to apply for a job and she was 18, 19, 20 years old, and it was her first ever gentleman's club, we would turn her away. We're like, listen, you need to think twice before getting into this world. This is not a glamorous world. Like, people think like OnlyFans as such an easy way to make money. You're giving up a huge chunk of your soul here. And when you're coming into an environment like this, you are no longer a human. You are an object. You are the product to be sold. And you say things like that to them, and it scared a ton of them off. We always, there's a couple different gentlemen's club owners in Chicago that are at least good enough of people to say, hey, we're going to scare them off young if you can. Don't let them get into this world. Okay.
Wow. That's pretty cool, actually, that you would even do that.
Well, man, there was one time, this had nothing to do with me. I was DJing, and there was this manager working this club in downtown, and this man shows up. We had these two girls came working, 19 years old, twins. Okay. This is like a gold mine find, and they were Asian. Okay. In a gentleman's club world, yes, identity politics matters there. That's like, okay, they're going to make a ridiculous ton of money. It's almost like a variety piece, right? Some guy comes and asks to speak to the manager, and he's in tears. He goes, those are my daughters.
Oh, man.
We've been trying to bring them back to the church, to bring them back to the community. They're rebelling. They're getting into drugs. And the manager, to his credit, and this is one of the only things I'll credit that piece of slime on, that one hit him immediately because he told the girls, I can't let you work here. Tore up their contracts. We walked them out. Their dad was outside. We don't know whatever happened, but imagine a father having to come to you and say that. Wow. I was on the money entertainment side of it for a long time. And as I got older into business, and I say older, I'm talking now, I'm towards the end of it. I'm in my early 30s. Like, Jesus, what are we doing? Like, I can't tell you how many stories of, hey, did you hear about so-and-so? They found her dead in a motel.
Wow. Or
did you hear about this one? They OD'd from heroin and stuff like that. And that weighs up on you after a while, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I was fortunate enough at the time to have an out. And that was, pre-COVID. And I started really building the sound and lighting aspect of my company as opposed to just the DJ side, like the services side, installations. And had found my way out of it. The only problem was you never lose those lessons. And here's the thing I'll tell you. When you're dealing with customers, and I get customers of all walks of life, listen, from the poorest guy working a graveyard shift all the way up to senators, judges, congressmen, congresswomen, I mean, all walks of life. Okay. If I started dropping names of people who I've been the VIP host to, Hillary would kill me tomorrow. Okay. But when you get to analyze people and their most animalistic natural self, when that's just testosterone, it's liquor, it's loose inhibitions, it's that sexual environment. When you see people in that environment, you get to really study how people respond, how you connect to them, how you reach them, what are their vulnerable points. You learn all that. Now, that's a little bit more for like tactical warfare, but you have to build that skill set in life, right?
So many interesting things are swirling through my head. You've taken us through your 30s, and we're going to go past that. Sure. You're doing all this stuff. Like a lot of people, most people, they don't have the entrepreneurial spirit, or there's something inside that holds them back. It's fear of failure, whatever. What makes you different? Like, how are you getting past taking all these shots? You know know what I mean? What's happening? What made you different?
Elaborate a little bit on that.
I have an entrepreneurial spirit. Okay. But I don't have the gumption to start all of these businesses. Oh, well, I'll just do this. I'll just do that. It's almost like you're fearless. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. I got you. I don't know. That's a part of me. A part of that is growing up in Melrose Park at the time frame that I did, learning how to survive there. That no matter what, the next day is still coming. So what's going to happen? So I've always had that in my brain. Like, what? Okay, tomorrow's still going to be here. So how are we positioning ourselves? But I've always been a believer in you're not a hustler until you get knocked down and come back again. Okay. Mm-hmm. You're not a businessman until you can get knocked down and come back up again. You're not a man. I truly believe this statement. I believe every male in this world needs to be once in their life just straight bitch slapped by someone 10 times more powerful than them, because it creates a little bit of humility. Mike Tyson has this quote, I'm paraphrasing here. The internet's made people forget what it's like to get punched in the mouth for saying ridiculous things. Yeah. Okay. So there's knowing that there's always going to be a bigger, badder guy in front of you. But if that's the reason why I don't continue, then I'm a punk. Like that's kind of the biggest thing, the biggest driver that you can fail, you can fall, but I'm still going to get up. And I know that once I attach my brain on something, I'm going to conquer it. It's that simple. And I've done a lot of it where I've conquered the one thing I was going at. And the other thing that I didn't learn was, all right, you conquered this avenue, but you didn't realize that you needed these other avenues to support this one. And that's when you fall there. Then you learn replication. And then, okay, you built this monster promotion company. You had a small heart attack. You went to the hospital. Nobody knew what to do. The whole party went down. And then 4,000 people are left wondering if they're getting their money back, because I didn't have the foresight to create other people and empower them in positions to do these things. So every time I fall, I go, what led me to fall? So then I add those into the repertoire. When I go into that next swing back, that's where I keep improving all those areas. Like a comment I made to you once, where if you're the smartest person in the room, you're doing leadership wrong. Yeah, I learned that like within the last 4 years.
Would you say, if I could boil it down to the simplest thing, it was belief in oneself. It was belief in yourself that was a driver for you?
Yeah, we can go with that. For
okay,
sure.
So then were there ever periods of time where you lost that?
No.
So
no,
that's
hell no.
That's really cool.
No, never once.
Because that's happened to me a couple times.
Yep. No. Even in really, really dark times where it's, damn it, how are we going to do this? If you plug away enough, you're going to find an answer or a solution. It could be the most ridiculous thing. And if you end up, and because I've gone bust twice in my life. When you go fully bust, the only way to be like, all right, screw it, we're doing it again, is you have to kind of like almost remember, hey, you're at bust right now. So anything from this point forward is a step forward. Are you still behind in the story of, you can call it life or status symbol or whatever? Cool. Yeah, that's fine. But those variables are not going to change unless I do that, because no one's going to do it for me.
All right, let me throw this at you. This is life according to me. I believe that we're all wired with emotions, and the emotions are there for a reason. But if we don't manage the emotions, and I don't mean like necessarily eliminate them, but keep the emotions in balance, which is what I refer to as internal mastery. If we let our emotions dictate our actions, we're going to make bad decisions. Like anger, for instance, is one of those. We need anger. I've actually researched this in neuroscience. Yeah. Anger is the emotion that triggers the fight in the fight, flight, or freeze, and we need that for survival.
Right.
But human beings, like we will fester on the anger and will manifest the anger, and it isn't meant to be that way.
Right.
It's like I saw a video of a mother and an adolescent zebra running across the African plain, and a lioness jumped on the baby zebra and immediately got it compromised. And the mother turned and she started snorting. So this is the anger part of the story. And then she ran back and started biting the lioness.
Right.
And the lioness released the little zebra and they started to gallop away. And then the lioness jumped on the mother zebra. And the zebra started kicking like a mule and caught the lioness, and she flew off, and it was the end of it. And they ran off. And when they run off, everything calms. They return to their calm state. There's no more anger. There's no more fear. There's alertness. But we don't do that as human beings. We get angry and we stay angry, or we get scared and we stay scared. And part of your journey, if I'm correct, is you do have this emotional mastery, yes?
Yeah, I mean, definitively. And don't get me wrong, I have my slip-ups. There's times where something will happen and I'll get beyond angry. And then this is this is one of my little slights, actually. Not little. It's pretty powerful when it happens. If I get angry and it's over absolute sheer, like what really drives me nuts is pure cowardice, pure degenerate, weak cowardice. And that gets me real angry to the point where there was an instance a little while back where I'm with a group of people and someone is just saying some ridiculous stuff, and it got me to the point where I cocked my hand. I go, listen, you got 2 seconds before I smack you in the mouth. Okay. And when I said that, it made a couple of the people that were there a little frightened, like, oh, whoa, hang on. What do you can't just go straight to beating people up. I'm like, yeah, but I mean, the anger of this guy showing me his cowardice and for other humans is really what set me off. And then I had to, I have to adjust. I handle my anger a little differently. I'll get real angry real quick. You'll know I'm angry. And I'll come out and I'll say, I might go live on the video, or I'll come out and I'll say a bunch of stuff out of pure anger. Like, hey, you done pissed off the wrong camel today. Okay. Then I'm going to take that anger and I have to process it. This is what I've learned. Process it, attack with it, but attack strategically. I make a joke. Don't do the bomb thing. Do the sniper rifle thing. Metaphorically speaking, by the way, people, in my approaches. And you have to have a balance on that. When I sit down with somebody, I tell this to my agents all the time. If you sit down and you just spent 45 minutes presenting to someone and they tell you I'm not interested, don't take it personal. You can't. Okay. It's the process. You have to go through the process of it all.
You twanged my cord with the cowardice, because that's something that it angers me and it disappoints me in people. Like when that girl got knifed on the train, that we saw the footage, that in itself was horrific, but the people just sat there and they didn't do anything. Now, I understand if they're overcome by fear and they don't want to try and go after the guy with the knife, but they let the girl just drop, and nobody went to help her.
No, I saw that video. And to be honest with you,
broke my heart.
It broke your heart. See, this is where so my initial reaction to that is them idiots that were sitting on the bus, they deserve their jaws broken. Like I should punch you in the grill right now. Okay. And that's my initial anger. Like, I mean, and it's because that was a rough thing. And then a couple of days later was Charlie. So a few days later was Charlie. But, when I see that stuff, it irks the hell out of me. You know what I hate is these videos where I'll be scrolling somehow, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, whatever. And I see this video of someone, whether they're trying to shoplift or they assault somebody or they're beating someone up on the street and these people walk by and they're filming with their cameras. The heck is wrong with you guys?
I agree.
Where is the testicular fortitude in men these days?
I agree.
I don't expect it out of the women. I expect out of the women make a bunch of damn noise so the men can show up. But where are the men?
I agree. We're losing our humanity as a society. We're losing our humanity. Not to get out on the Charlie Kirk thing, but it really...
Let me clarify. I'm sorry. We are not losing our humanity. It is being programmed out through meticulous work to eliminate it from these next sets of generations. That's why there's a huge disconnect between guys around our age and these 18, 19, 20-year-olds that are saying they're glad this guy got killed. Mm-hmm. They're not... Think about a pit bull. A pit bull is a beautiful dog. You want to know why a pit bull bites so hard? Because a pit bull has an extra drive to please their owner. So if you raise that animal to be a loving, caring dog that's friendly with people, it's going to be the best loving, caring, friendly dog because it really wants to please your owner. If you train that pit bull to be vicious and bite people, it's going to bite people like they've never been bit before. That's literally what's happening with children. You tell me, what happened in 1989 to 1990 that all of a sudden, what great medical condition happened where we had to go from 12 vaccinations to 24, then to, I believe, 60, and now at last count, we're at 120. We're putting 120 vaccinations in kids before they're even a year old. Then we're sending them to school. We're literally genetically manipulating these people. You want to read the story to blow your mind? You should look at the story of the Anunnaki and the ancient Sumerians. That'll blow your mind. You want to know how why genetically, DNA-wise, every human on this planet is connected to one woman in Africa. There's a reason for that. Dig into it. That's a wormhole for you to go into. Mm-hmm. But when we program all this, from the moment that they're in grade school, and then we're messing with whether it's the gender ideology BS or the extremely left-wing liberal stuff, then by the time they get to high school and college, forget humanity at this point. Humanity was deprogrammed in the third grade. Mm-hmm. That's where this is. This is or almost earlier, like I said to you, if we drink from a water hose, we're a little different. Okay? Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. So I'm sorry to correct you on that. It's not, we haven't lost our humanity. It's legitimately being deprogrammed and under attack.
Well, that is the cause and effect of what I said.
Yes.
Right? I said we're losing it.
Yes.
Here's why we're losing it. Correct. Is what you're getting at. And I definitely agree with you. It is heartbreaking. This is just a sidebar, and this is me. I always thank veterans. I walk up to them, I shake their hands. I have a book that I'm going to give you a copy of, my first book, How to Be a Warrior of Light in a Dark World, and chapter 9 is on freedom and veterans. So I have a whole box of those books in my car in baggies, and I have a note in there that says, "Thank you for serving our country. You represent the best of us." If I see a car in a parking lot with a veteran plate, I'll put it on their windshield. That's why I have it in the baggie, or I'll just hand it to them. I'll get out of my car in traffic if we're at a stoplight and there's a veteran in front of me. I knock on their window. It scares the shit out of them sometimes. But also what I do is when I see police, I'll approach them if I have the time, and I'll shake their hand. I'll say, "Thank you for serving our community." People don't realize that you see the worst of humanity every day, and you're carrying PTSD and dark storms, just like a combat veteran. And I just wanted you to know I'm a conceal and carry. And if I ever saw an officer in distress, I'm fighting by your side. That's the masculinity part that you're talking about. Right?
And it's 100% on the money. Like, firefighters, police officers, military members, they sign a piece of paper that says, "I will die for you." I'm paraphrasing. But a cop signs a piece of paper knowing, I can get shot in the face today protecting you. And they willfully do that. Okay. I don't have the testicular fortitude to do that. I'm willing to go out and fight the good fight and give speeches and talks and get shot and killed that way. Okay. I'm not willing to go and seek it out through so they've already shown me a level of bravery that I haven't achieved, men and women alike. Okay. To not respect that, to not have the utmost amount of respect and care when you see these people blows my mind. It blows, like, how can you not? Sure, are there bad cops? Cool, there's bad surgeons. You know what I'm saying? You see someone that takes that kind of a risk to put that effort into a community, you better start showing some respect. Men especially. You see a bunch of cops struggling. You see two women, oh my God. You see two women cops struggling with a guy trying to get him on the ground. and you're standing around like an idiot with your cell phone taking a video for World Star, grow a pair, jump in and help.
Amen.
Jesus, I'm worried about getting sued. Shut up.
Amen. So let's hit the pause button here. And I wanted to ask you this, going through your career and all the things you did, did you have go-to guys? Did you have guys that were with you that were really your trusted confidants?
Not for a long time. Big misconception out there, and this is something you all need to be careful of, especially if you're trying to be upcoming leaders. You have to be careful the circle you put around you, because you are the sum of the 5 people around you, okay? And when the people around you are around you because of what you're giving them or what you're providing for them without them, adding to that mix, you're being used. Okay, and you might think they're your friends, your confidants. Hey, what do you mean? This is my best friend. They're with me all the time. Yeah, because you're driving everywhere and you're always paying for food. You have to be able to recognize who's actually in it to be with you, to grow and to support you, or that's in it to gain and profit off of you. There's 2 big differences there.
So being, let's say, a higher profile person with all the adventures you've had, then you've probably been subjected to a betrayal.
A ton of it, bro. Whether you're talking money, emotional, simple, like, hey, thought we were boys, like, it's funny because I'm single now, no wife, no kids, but my entire life, I've always been someone that went out of my way to do for others before it came to me. In kindergarten, my mother always tells a story. There was this little girl in the class. Her name was Denise. A little quiet kid, wouldn't talk to anybody, never played with anyone. And somehow I went, sat with her and played with her all the time and talked to her. And I eventually got her out of her shell. And she became, fully involved with everything. I used to do this WWF fake wrestling stuff. I used to dress, my face was, I painted black and my character was Scorpio. And we would put on wrestling events with like the old wrestlers, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Viscera. I've wrestled these guys, but we did it for St. Jude's to raise money for kids, stuff like that. And I'm getting involved in these ridiculous things, getting hurt and injured, but it's making a kid smile. It's helping a family. It's doing something for it. I've really been big on trying to live that way. And when you do that, and you don't have enough of a business head on your shoulders or enough life experience to be careful of the vultures, that's when they come in and they grab you.
All right. So you had kind of an epiphany when you started selling insurance. Mm-hmm. Talk about that.
Well, so it's 2020, right pre-pandemic, so pre-shutdowns. I've got a sound and lighting company. Everything's ready to rock and roll. We're making $750,000 a year in profit. Like that's what this was amazing. So when the shutdown happens, within 48 hours, I go from expecting $750,000 to being negative $100,000 in the bank. It's ridiculous. And at the time, I was married at the time.
Because they shut everything down. Right?
Everything shut down. I can't do venues. I can't do entertainment. I had 67 weddings booked, and 64 out of 67 asked for their money back. But here's what I said to them. If you guys let me keep your deposit, which is 50%, when it comes time to do your wedding, your balance is on the house.
Oh, that's a
great deal.
Yeah.
They all needed the money. Yeah. How do I say no to a bunch of brides in this scenario? Right. I had to actually get a loan to pay all that stuff off because their deposits went to insurance, rentals, equipment. Yep. You don't make money till the deposit or till the gig is done. But lost it all. And a friend of mine posted on Facebook her company was hiring during the pandemic, and it could have been anything. If it was a telemarketing job for AT&T, I would have taken it. Turned out to be life insurance. Like, okay, sales again. We keep coming back to sales. I'm good at sales, fine. Even commission, I didn't care. It didn't fear me that it was a commission-based job. But I started getting licensed, and this is June of 2020, in the heat of the shutdowns. Like, where the heck are we going to find clients to sell insurance to? Well, we started working with truck drivers because truck drivers were driving around everywhere during the pandemic. So we rented locations at truck stops, started selling insurance to these guys. And it was great. By the end of 2020, so from June to the end of December, I had made just shy of $100,000. Like, where has this been this entire time, right? But like anything else in sales, I got really good at describing the product, how to apply it to a person, attach their emotion to it, show them where it's actually needed for them as opposed to selling them something shady. But then February 21, I have my first client die. His name was Rudy Simas. Never forget this man. Legitimately, Frank, and to those of you listening that know what, like, if you ever negotiated to buy a car at a car dealership, you know where I'm going with this. I sat with this man for 2 hours outside of a truck stop, we're beating the hell out of each other on why he doesn't need it. He was 62 years old, never bought life insurance in his life. I don't need it. I'm in great health. We went back and forth. We connected so much eventually that he bought. He signed a deal. I sold him a basic policy. He left. 3 months later, he's dead in his truck of a heart attack in the Love's parking lot. For 3 days, he was dead before they found his body. And they only found his body because his parking permit expired.
Wow. So
they're banging on the door, and they did a wellness check. It passed. Well, when the wife called me and told me he passed away, I went into panic mode. Like, oh my God, please tell me I didn't sell these people like a fake item, or is life insurance a scam?
You wanted to make sure the product actually worked, right?
I freaked out because I'm like, it sounded great. Yeah, you die, something happens, we'll take care. It sounded great. Is it actually going to happen? And then, to the insurance company's credit, it paid out. We got the body home. Property paid off. She was able to take the rest of the money, go live in assisted care. And it legitimately changed my life. We went from me being just a salesman to, okay, forget sales. Let's focus on service. And because people really need this stuff. And it's not just insurance that pays out when you die. We have stuff that pays out while you're alive. It keeps families together, keeps people from losing homes. I'm like, why isn't this like forefront education to people? If they taught financial literacy senior year of high school, like they used to teach woodshop, instead of, this political social justice warrior silliness, we'd be in a much better place. But learn all this stuff, and I started serving people, serving families. And instead of managing agents, we started building and developing other leaders. And that's when that transition hit. And everything's been straight service since. And if you serve people, I always tell agents this, you're going to get rich doing sales. You can make a lot of money doing sales. You'll become wealthy when you learn how to serve others. It takes a lot longer, takes a lot more work, and it takes a lot more relationship building, but it's not transactional anymore. It's relational. And that's been the driving force of me for at least the last 5 years now.
Yeah, that's a really awesome transition in your life. Like I always said, I couldn't sell something that I didn't believe in.
Right.
And there's people that sell, swampland and timeshares and all
For
that
real,
stuff.
dude.
And I just couldn't do that. So
that's why I didn't make it in the jewelry business. I don't want to sell luxury. I'd rather sell necessity because it actually it's meant for someone. It's something that can be used all the time. Jewelry, your necessity was a watch, an engagement band, an engagement ring. Everything else is luxury. So the rest is I'm getting into your pockets at this point.
Yeah, and even a watch is debatable too, right?
Right. Back then, this is pre-smartphone.
Yeah.
And this is like a flip phone time. You always have a watch.
Yeah.
Don't make fun of watches, man. I'm a watch connoisseur. I love watches.
I'm a watch guy too. So
no, but that's the transition.
All right. So let me ask you this.
Give it to me.
We've traveled a lot of miles with your career and your life. You had to have a lot of women kind of coming at you in the nightclubs and the DJing and stuff. So did you have meaningful relationships? I mean,
well, I've had my fair share of actual relationships. Yeah. And then, the first one from 18, when you first get with someone and then you guys are together for 5 years, but it's, you broke up and then you dated other people and you got back together. No, this time it's going to work. And that silliness. A couple other relationships. I was married for a short, brief amount of time. And they've always been, it's kind of hard because the majority of the women in my life, minus 3 specifically, were always in a relationship with the DJ persona of me. They were always, involved, more interested in the clubs I was running, the entertainment. What's your publicity? What's, how much noise are you making? Or how many people are coming and kissing your ass because they want to be on that, in that little environment. The few relationships that I had that had some serious probabilities, even my ex-wife, I would say they were not myself, as a leader of myself was not developed enough yet to be, leading a household, if you will. In my marriage, my biggest issue there was I actually at the time married my best friend. The problem is we should have stayed best friends because none of the conversations pre-marriage existed. How would we raise our kids? What religion? What's our political stance? Where do we think about certain things? And it started to spread. And then when the pandemic hit, certain things were done on her end that I would never forgive. And I'm sure in her brain, she can assume that me buying a car without talking to her first was pissed her off. But sorry, I just made 40 grand. I needed a car. Those scenarios, I have to look at them as why didn't they work out? What's the ultimate play for me? Because above anything, I can't wait to be a father one day. I really do. And I want to be a father to a girl. I want to be a girl dad. Because with what I know and what I've learned in this world that I can help raise a daughter with and get her brain right early, man, she'd be a powerhouse. Okay. And no guy would ever be able to pull the wool over her eyes. But there's several prophets of the Bible. I hate to go spiritual here. They've never fathered any children, but they served everybody as if they were their own. And I kind of really dig that. I think that's my season right now. I think this is the final season I have to go through before I'm in a position, according to his plan, where I've matured enough to carry the weight of a family. And I mean, I'm in the fight of my life right now. What I'm doing in the political sphere, I mean, we don't have to go there.
We will. We're going to cover it. Yeah.
The scenario that I'm fighting in right now, I could never ask a woman and to stand by my side right now, just like coming into it. If we'd been married and all these things, a family, and then started maybe a different conversation. But the level of where I have to fight right now, the things that I have to do in order for us to get a lot of things handled, it'd be really selfish for me to expect someone to just sit at home and wait for me to get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that to me is wisdom, but also you're a warrior, so you understand what it requires to stay on mission.
Right.
And it's almost like it's a diversion that you don't need. Because
how am I supposed to give a woman the attention she actually deserves and needs in a proper relationship to let that build? There's no way she'd get that kind of attention without everything else, falling apart. Not falling apart, but losing its momentum and drive. And if you look at the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, this is real. The law of the big mo. When you get momentum running, you can't let that thing slow down because it takes forever to get going again.
And it's physics too, right? It's kinetic energy.
It's inertia, whole 9 yards.
So before we get into more of the deeper stuff, I see you have 2 rings on. Tell me about these rings.
So I don't wear a lot of rings, and a lot of people give me crap because they're pinky rings. Well, first of all, like I said, grew up in Melrose. So a lot of that rubbed off on this Middle Eastern guy.
Yeah, got to have your bling, baby.
Of course. But this ring specifically, if you guys can see that in the camera, it's an ace of spades. And this ring, my mother gave to my dad on their 2nd anniversary. And growing up, I told you earlier, I always try to mimic my dad, right? So anytime we'd be going to things at the church or events, I'm always dressing in a suit and tie, and I have my little rings and jewelry, bracelets, and I would always go into his room and take this out of his jewelry drawer and try to wear it. This specific ring, it would drive him nuts. Don't touch my ring. He would always yell at me about it. And on my 23rd birthday, he hands me a little baggie. We were eating dinner. He goes, "Happy birthday." I'm like, "Oh, thanks." I opened this little bag and it's this ring. And I, since 23, so it's been 20 years now since he gave me this ring. I've never not worn it. So it keeps me, it keeps that from him. This ring, this one is fun. Because if you shake my hand the wrong way, it's going to poke you. You know what I mean? It gives me a little edge. Yeah. But it's a gift from my brother. And my brother gave me this as a gift when I became my own agency owner. When I built my own insurance agency and finally got the ownership contract, this was his gift that he gave to me. And it's funny because they're both pinky rings. I love pinky rings. And it's like I got my father and my brother on both of my fists. Like, I dare you. Like, come at me. I got more power behind me than just me. And that, that's why I always wear them. I don't like wearing, I'm wearing this bracelet now because I don't want to look silly on camera with a bare wrist.
Just having your big caveman forearm. That's not
exactly. I needed something to take off the eye line. That's why I'm wearing a bracelet today.
Okay, so tell me about your brother. Older or younger?
Younger. 8.5 year difference.
Wow.
Yeah, almost a decade.
You're almost both of you are like only children, honestly.
Almost, yeah. Oh, that poor kid. So by the time I'm, starting to drive and I'm a teenager, he's still a little kid. And my mother sees where I'm going and she's like, "Yep, nope. We're keeping him away from you." He was my mother's on her hip sidekick. And we always used to crack jokes. He's like, "You made my life really hard growing up." I'm like, "I'm sorry, dude. I made the path for you. So no matter what I did, yours would have never been any worse. So you got a lot of leeway."
Nice. Does your brother have any kids?
He does. So he has the reason why I came back up to Chicago to rebuild everything here, really. He has a beautiful daughter. Her name, I'm not going to say her name. I'm going to keep her life. Yeah. Her life is to be private. But she's 9.5, about 10 months old. And he had named me her godfather, which is why I wear this. So,
Wow, that's an honor.
To protect her. It's St. Michael is our saint. And he had given this to me on the baptism. And it just tied in perfectly because I am kind of like, I'm a fighter. I'm kind of like a protector right now of a lot of people. I mean, we're talking, our audience has jumped up to, we're at like 1.4 million people that are watching our content and that are sending in messages of support and what we're doing. So it was almost symbolic. And, that's why I wear that as well. But I am her godfather. Absolutely. It's a huge responsibility. And I know at some point in the future, I'm going to end up getting charged with a felony because I did something to some poor kid that thought that he can come say something slick to her, So eventually one day, please forgive me if I end up with the felony, America.
Awesome. You said audience. So tell me, what does this mean? Where's your audience? What are you doing? I know you're politically active and we're going to talk about all that. So what do you mean by audience?
Well, on top of just my persona, I mean, I've been a very public figure for years. So I have my own personal social medias, Facebook, Instagram, etc. All that has a certain audience on it as it is, where I post content or videos and they'll get, tens of thousands of views here and there. So I've always had my own base, but with the whole political thing, being the chairman of this organization, Aurora, it's the second largest in the entire state. And it was also making the least amount of noise of the entire state. I jumped in, took over not just their social marketing. Like, it's not like we're posting things at the right time of the day with the right hashtag. I took over the persona, the identity of the party. And, we're the statements we're making, the videos that are coming out, the messaging we're putting out there, our podcast that we do on Sundays for the party. All that stuff started really launching off. And our audience is everyday Americans, immigrants, folks born here, immigrants that came here. We went from an audience in July of 2,000 viewers per month on our social media streams as the party. As of this morning, we're at 1.4 million.
Wow. And how you do all this being so shy and introverted, that's even a bigger miracle.
It's crazy. It really is. I got to tell you, it's funny that you say that because I've done stand-up comedy in my past as well. I believe it. And it's one thing being on stage in front of 70,000 people with a microphone, you're hyping them up and there's DJs and sound. And then there's another thing being in a room of 40 people, dead silent, staring at you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. That was the most nerve-wracking thing I've ever done. Where a little bit of shyness was like, okay, we're gonna swing for the fences here, and it worked. My first ever debut of comedy was a success, thankfully.
Awesome. All right, so let's get into some politics here.
Sure.
I try not to be political because I don't want to join a team. Right. I don't want to be a left or a right. I want to be somebody who thinks through things and makes my decisions based on
policy, not party.
Yes.
Yep.
What I'm observing as a critical thinker wannabe, I say wannabe because it's something that you have to continue to work on, is that the voices get very amplified on the left with mainstream news media. And like you said about Mike Tyson, people get really bold. And here I'm trying to use my logic and intelligence to have a debate with somebody who's hyper emotionalized and they're not using the intelligent part of their brain. And it's frustrating, right? So then you get called names, and when they resort to calling names, and we talked about this before, they're giving you the names to call people by programming you with racist, homophobe, anti-vaxxer, Nazi, communist, all of this stuff. And people don't understand it. It's being supplanted in their brain. They are hypnotizing you. They are capturing your brain.
Oh, for sure.
And, so I'm at the point where I understand that logic only works on the logical, and I can't have a logical conversation with you. There's a famous saying, and I put it in my book. I didn't write this saying, but it says, never play chess with a pigeon, because no matter what your skill is in chess, that pigeon will walk around the board knocking the pieces over thinking they're winning, right?
I actually love that. So I got one for you from Mark Twain. Never argue with stupid people. They'll bring you down to their level and beat you with experience.
That's right. And I love that one too. So now my posture is, now instead of trying to collaborate with you, which is the best negotiation style, now I'm drawing a hard line. No, you're wrong. And, if you can't sit down and have a reasonable discussion, like I'm super knowledgeable on the science of vaccines, not just COVID, but all vaccines. And we already touched upon it.
Yeah.
I have the studies. I have 400 or 500 studies that I've read through. So when somebody's telling me safe and effective, they've never looked at any science.
Right.
So now I'm being more hardline in your face. No, you're wrong. And I've seen that a little bit on your approach angle, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
no matter how hardcore I believe something is to be true, I have to always have the what if in the back of my brain.
Amen
right?
to that.
You always have to have the what if. So, if I had a conversation recently with someone who doesn't like, who came at me and said, you're anti-immigrant, you're a white supremacist racist. And I'm like, you just literally said that to a Middle Eastern guy. Like, the two don't add up. I go, I'm not against immigration at all. But you and I can both agree that people deserve to be treated fairly and equally, right? They're like, well, yeah. Okay. So first step right there. We agreed on something. We met to a common ground. I didn't just jump in their face right off the bat and go hardline. I go, here's where I'm going to tell you why I think of what immigration should be. And I'm going to give some points. And then usually it shocks people when I give them my position on immigration because it really is a very nuanced actual solution. And there's different variations of immigration in my brain. But when we go through this conversation with them and they want to start immediately going to name calling, like if they're going to converse and have a debate, we can leave in disagreement, but a better understanding of each other disagreeably. That's a big deal.
Mm-hmm. I love how you said that.
When you get to these people that just want to scream and shout you down, there's nothing to get emotional over. This is just like someone telling you, I need to think about it in a sale. Okay? It's an objection you have to overcome. And at the end of the day, an objection is nothing more than a question. So if you want to call me a neo-Nazi white supremacist and I'm a brown Middle Eastern guy, first generation immigrant, I already know that you're not coming at me from a legitimate place of an argument or conversation, or even if you want to call me, hey, whatever you say, fat ass. Okay, really? We went to meet. First of all, fat but sexy. I'm always going to throw that. I'm always going to throw that out there. But we went to fat instead of talking about why abortion is right or wrong in either one of our subjective dialogues. So when you go to that route, it's almost. I didn't write the book to their game, to the psycho leftist liberal game. I didn't write their book. I don't write the rules, but I learned their rules, and now I'm much better at their rules than they are. Because at the end of the day, I can be really damn petty. Okay? So there's going to be times where I'm going to have to eviscerate you and annihilate you. And when that happens, that sacrificial lamb that gets altered sacrificed on the altar of social media, for example, the way you beat these people, the way you eliminate those hardliners that just want to talk and make some noise is to let people see who they are.
Yes.
When people show you who they are, you believe them. Okay. So I had a recent situation where people are asking me on our social media if I can block 2 specific individuals that come on there every day and they troll every single red-blooded American, not Republican or Democrat, every American that's posting on our wall. They go off on them. They're always trolling them. I will not ban them or suppress them because they haven't called for violence. They haven't said anything immoral. And all they're doing is showing you who they are. So now it's gotten to the point where we have such a large audience that when I have 50 people in agreement and then 1 or 2 or 3 of these psychos come on and say something, they're that easily dismissed because we created enough of a audience of our own of logical, reasonable people that it drowns them out. That's the only way to beat them.
Yeah, and I think that's what I was getting at too.
Yeah. You just can never take it personally.
I get in and out of conversations on Facebook, but what I'm doing now is I'm putting in my commentary and that I'm never revisiting a conversation.
Yep, let them go nuts.
Right? So that's what I do. It's like whacking the hornet nest. And somebody made a commentary about Charlie Kirk and said, I don't have sympathy for Charlie Kirk. I do have sympathy for his family. He's got a wife and a little girl. He got what he deserved. He did typical stuff we've seen way too much. I said to the guy, basically, I'm paraphrasing what I wrote because he put fascist and dictator and all that stuff. And I said, most of the people who voted for Trump would consider themselves red-blooded, patriotic Americans, I being one of them. And I said, if Trump becomes a dictator, we'll take the motherfucker out. You understand? Because we are freedom fighters just because we voted for him. I go, so sleep easy. I'll defend your freedom too. And then one of his friends came on and said, oh, you sound like a patsy. And I go, well, I'll defend this Patsy will defend your freedom too. So don't worry. Lock yourself in your basement is what I said.
That's the big thing. And I was on the car ride here. I was mentoring a person. I was talking to them about this. It's it's so funny you said that, because like, here's the thing. Our party, and this isn't the Republican thing right now. I want to go conservative versus socialist. Conservative versus liberal.
That was a good Freudian slip there, by the way.
Yes. I love Freudian slips, because it really is socialism that drives the liberal brain. But I just want to make this as simple as I can for folks. There's conservative and then there's liberal. I'm extremely conservative on a lot of things. I'm liberal on some. For example, I'm extremely conservative on our ability to own firearms. I'm very liberal on the fact that we should be allowed to smoke weed without getting in trouble. Okay, you can't go through the craziness of my life without smoking a blunt every now and then. Okay, it's better than cocaine and Xanax and Zoloft and all that other crap. All right, but you know, this side of it is, you know, I can't even stress it enough how important it is to be able to show that, like, hey, listen. You can say what you want, but we always call our people out.
Yes.
We always call our people out. It's like the other side of this, and this is not all Democrats. That's why I try to say conservative, because there's a lot of Democrats that are trapped. They are like, shoot, what do I do? What just took over our party? They're hooked. They can't speak their minds because their party would eviscerate them,
right,
and they would ruin their entire career in life. You see what they do. Mm-hmm. So they're almost like the civilians of North Korea. They're held hostage. Okay, that's how I look at the Democrat Party. But they're not willing to hold their side accountable. Mm-hmm. When you got someone like Ilhan Omar that says about 9/11, oh, some people did something, and she wonders why we talk about the flag. You have Rashida Tlaib. This clown from Michigan, goes on, and she's a congresswoman and talks about how evil the United States is and it must be destroyed while you're sitting in Congress. Like, I understand you have the right to say it, but we also have a right to respond. And, you know, words have consequences. It's that simple. Freedom of speech is literally all free. People, stop confusing yourselves. None of you are lawyers on Facebook, okay? Freedom of speech is literally just the government not being able to suppress your speech. That's it. Not your job, not your employer, not your spouse, not your friends. Your friends turning on you saying you shouldn't be celebrating Charlie Kirk's death, rather. And then they turn on you. That's not them going against your freedom of speech. That's their morality, not hanging out with your evil.
Yes.
That's a different thing.
100%. This is such an interesting thing you touch on with the accountability.
Yeah.
Right? I have a dear friend. She's such a dear friend. I would give my life for her. Okay. And she's got a benevolent heart and she helps people, but in her own words, career Democrat. And we talk often, but we had an agreement not to talk about politics because we're not in agreement on politics. Well, she wanted to start talking about politics, and I go, I'm going to be okay with this, but if you ever get pissed, then I'm going to get pissed at you for getting pissed. So she's been very good with staying level-headed, and she has a high level of respect for me, so that helps her accept what I tell her. So we were getting into a Trump thing, and I said, let me ask you a question. When Biden was president and you voted for him, what did he do that you really liked, and what did he do that you really didn't like? And there was a long silence.
As there usually is.
She goes, I don't know. I go, okay, but here you are. You're critiquing every single thing that Trump does, right? So what I'm going to suggest to you is you hated him so much that you voted for anybody else. And once that person won, you relieved yourself of having any concern about politics, right? You're not holding your president accountable that you voted for. But I'm going to tell you right now what I'm very disappointed in Donald Trump. One is the Epstein list.
Bro.
In the big scheme of things, is it important or not? I don't know, but you campaigned on it.
Correct.
You see what I'm saying? So I'm pissed off at certain things that he does, and I'm going to say it, right? That's the accountability.
It's funny you say that. I was just with Stuart Rhodes this weekend. Stuart Rhodes is he's the creator and founder of the Oath Keepers. He was involved with January 6th. He's one of the guys. The guy never even walked into the place, and he got sentenced to 18 years, served 1 year in solitary confinement, and served 2, and he's out. And we were talking. There are things to definitely hold Trump accountable for. Forget the Epstein list for a second. I'm not saying forget it. I'm just saying forget it for a second. How about it took this long to get an indictment on James Comey? This better not be a tease. Your sole damn job is to weed out this supposed swamp you're in now. That's it. Like this, you have no more elections to run. Get the I don't give an F attitude on. Bring me douchebag New York Trump for a minute and do these damn things. We'll hold our guy to account to it. And to the point where he got so many damn messages, he accidentally tweeted that information to Pam Bondi instead of sending her a text. People are talking and saying that we're not doing what we said we were going to work. You saw that text recently. He snapped off on her. He goes, get this done. This is what, when people post his comments, is this what you voted for? Yes. When they were taking when they grab a bunch of illegal criminals and you see like 6 pedophiles on a bus going back to Nicaragua. Is this what you voted for? Yes. I voted to get criminals the hell out of here. I voted for law and order. So please tell me what you voted for with Joe Biden that you're happy that he accomplished. Because I can tell you there's things that I'm thrilled about that the Trump administration has accomplished, and others that I'm like, you better get going because I'm starting to get pissed.
I got to share a funny story with you. Dear friend, he's super intelligent, super anti-Trump, very left liberal. But to his credit, we can have discussions and debates and we're still good friends. So he's one of those rare people. He says to me, when Trump was president, he didn't do one good thing, not one good thing. And I go, look, we all know that all presidents do some good and all presidents do some bad, and no president does all good and no president does all bad.
Right. I like
so
that.
I got you right there. And I said, quick question. Is an open border a good thing? And he goes, well, I don't believe the border's open. I'm like, okay. So here's the logic, right? I go, so let me ask you a question, because I watch news on both, liberal and conservative. I have not seen any news story, any article that suggests the border isn't open. Can you please provide me with the information stream that showed you that the border isn't open?
Right.
Because that'll be an angle that I haven't seen yet. He goes, well, I get the idea that you don't believe me. I go, no, I'm asking you to cite your sources. And he didn't have a source. So he was trying to dance around it. I go, do you remember geometry? Geometry gives you a given. They'll say 2 parallel lines are intersected by a common line. Prove A and C are congruent and B and D. I go, we can't even agree on the given. So how do we have a discussion when you don't even look at, you know what I mean? And I ask you to cite your sources and you don't have it. So
that's the fun part. It's like, okay, listen, I'm giving you every opportunity to prove me wrong. I want to be proven wrong. I want to grow and evolve. But if all you can do is give me a headline without the contents of the story, you're literally the exemplification of the TikTok generation, which is literally when you grab your phone, you're just swipe, 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 instead of stop, grab a book, read, have to have lighting,
right.
It's a different thing. And when you're not willing to, if you're so adamantly strong on your beliefs, you have to be able to explain that. Sorry, but you must. No, you can't get out of it and just give me your emotion. You can't tell me. So I had this argument with this young lady about abortion. And she made a comment to me. She goes, why are you pro-life? We should. So if someone gets raped, or in the case of incest, or the mother is going to die if she's going to have the baby, you're just okay with letting the mother die or have the baby? I go, you're talking about 1.2% of the total amount of freaking abortions.
Is it even that high?
Well, when you include, mothers that have to abort because it'll hurt the mom. Like medical reasons.
Yeah. I'm surprised it's actually high. But
if you include that number, the medical need, and then incest, rape, stuff like that, you combine them, it's at 1.2%.
Okay,
you have to combine all three. I'm trying to give them as much percentage as I can, but we're still at 1.2%. And it's literally, I tell her, hey, listen, you're literally talking about such a small case. You're talking about 1.2% out of 100. The rest of them are being done, whether it's for their convenience or this fake mental health capacity, or not taking accountability that if you start sleeping around with people, the likelihood is you're going to probably get pregnant. Okay. It's not oh my God, I got pregnant by accident. You mean you accidentally jumped into bed and had sex? That's not how it works. So, it was maybe unplanned, but there were no accidents here. So instead of handling your consequence, now abortion has become the number one child preventative. You want to know what kills more black people than black people killing each other with guns and gangs? Abortion. So I say this to her, and she goes, no, that's not right. Most abortions are done for this. Okay, where are you getting your facts? I saw it in a video. Oh, I'm going to slap you. Okay, what video? Well, I don't know. I saw it somewhere. Okay, who would you trust? Would you trust statistics from Planned Parenthood? Would you trust statistics from your side? Yeah. Okay, let's look at them. And we pull up usually it's their articles around paragraph 11, 12, or 13, somewhere buried in there, right? So we pull these statistics and the look on their faces, they're distraught. It's almost like you're seeing a computer glitch, like a robot glitch, like two binary codes were conflicting with each other. And it's like that, overload, that weird crap. Mm-hmm. And when you see that, that's when you have to jump on it. And that's the hardest part, is to get people there. Because most people like us, Frank, they're not going to have the patience to do that. That's what made Charlie special. He was able to go and debate all these people and have these conversations with them and still acknowledge at the end of the day they're human. Someone says to me, you have a problem with trans people. I don't hate trans people. They're humans. When they were created in the image of God, just like I was, okay? My heart goes out to what's happened to their brain, or how they were programmed, or how they were raised, that allowed them to have this big misconception of reality. Okay. I can still love a person and be in complete disagreement with their lifestyle.
Amen. Yeah.
I can still do that. We're supposed to do that. Okay. The other side doesn't. And the best juxtapose of this, I'm not trying to go into religions here, but if you look at, I'm not putting this as Christian or Islam, but if you look at a picture of Erica Kirk and then Ilhan Omar, okay, I'm looking at Ilhan Omar's ridiculous socialist left-wing Marxist mentality versus Charlie Kirk's Christian mentality. If you juxtapose those two pictures next to each other and you see how Erica Kirk handled her husband killed and the things that Ilhan Omar said, those evil words that came out of her mouth, you see the definitive difference between both sides here. This is not Democrat versus Republican. This is not, conservative versus, slightly liberal. This is what's going on in our world right now. And as men like us, as men with some stones in their pants, it's indicative on us to put up this mental warfare fight that needs to happen to connect to these people. Because just like your friend, I promise you, your friend will vote conservative and red in the next election because she was willing to have a conversation.
I hope so. I hope she votes
because she's going to vote policy.
Policy, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Correct. And here, we're immigrants. All immigrants were Democrats. Okay, I was a Democrat. I thought Clinton was awesome. I liked George Bush, but Obama, that whole yes we can in the beginning, that sounded great. You fooled me. You got me. Okay, it just so happens that all of the conservative and kind of morality is on the Republican side right now. It really is.
So I want to cover two things with you. You're a Christian.
Yep.
And I'm Christian. I'm looking at this big picture as we are now in a spiritual war.
100%.
This is Lucifer and God
absolutely
going to battle. It's transcended even politics.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
So we agree.
But now, that's kind of that's the bliss, actually. That's the relief that it is a spiritual war. If this was just a war of man, if this was just conquest and expansion and takeover, we'd have a really big problem on our hands. And because we never know how that's going to end. And those are backroom deals. Those are sweetheart deals. Those are evil allies, evil people connecting together to take over for power and everything else. Now that it's been kicked into a gear where now it's a spiritual war, we know how that ends. Lucifer always loses. The battle's going to suck, but he's always going to lose. Mm-hmm. So it's like, whew, okay, we're going to win. It's just a matter of going through it and actually committing and going through the process of his plan. It literally takes all the weight off your shoulders when it becomes spiritual.
Because if you are faithful to Jesus and you realize the battle's here, and if I die in the battle, it's glorious.
Let's go.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Bring it on. So now comes my cynicism. You know a lot about the street. My godfather was a mafia affiliate. The two parties to me, they're both crime families.
100%.
Okay, so we can vote, and does our vote make a difference? That's debatable. if the elections are real or not. I'm so cynical about top down, but I do feel like we can make a difference from bottom up. How we live our lives, how we treat our family members and our friends, bringing people together.
Correct.
And who we vote for on a local level, we can actually change our environment, our smaller 100%. Environments. Right?
And that's how it can't go top bottom. It has to go ground up. That's actually the power of the MAGA movement. So let me explain this, because people hate that word MAGA. But MAGA really is a collaboration of people. I mean, it's former Democrats, it's Republicans, it's former independents. What did they do? It all started at the grassroots level. It was the grassroots communities, not the big metropolitan cities, that carried the first election, that started this MAGA movement, the first presidency run for Trump. Okay? Then it was the Biden era of the ridiculousness and the full-on display of the evil that was there that made everybody stand up together and say, holy cow, they were right. You know what I mean? And then that's when the rest of the grassroots people got a chance to stand up. Why is Trump such an imposing and a powerful figure in the Republican Party? Why am I blowing up the internet with the Republican Party locally here in Kane County and in Illinois? Because there has to be that front-running person that people buy into and that give them at least that extra push of inspiration to feel like they can say it too. That's what the left always tries to suppress. Look at the voices over the years. Lincoln, Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, all these voices that come up that can mess with either one of the families, they snuff them out. Okay? That's why when people talk about the Republican Party, I'm like, listen, don't look at me as a Republican like the old-fashioned Republican. Okay, we're not the old white guys sitting on the country club. This is a different team. This is a different organization. We have evolved the heck out of it. Okay, there are those definitive differences there, because even if you look at a mob family, bro, the reason why the only the boss can call a shot on who gets killed in the mob family is because once the boss realizes that he used murder against his enemies, he must accept that murder can be used against him. Okay. He must accept that. That's why only the boss can call that shot, because it's a vendetta. It's an old phrase of the Calamarese. Okay, it's vendetta. You kill one, it's eye for an eye. That is true. That is biblical. So these two parties, the old Republican Party, we call them the rhinos, and this left wing that has seized what was once a great party with the Democrat Party, they've seized it. Okay, these two groups are who are battling it out. Now, thankfully, it has become so open and displayed with social media and people like you and me and others. Even the conspiracy theory. It's funny. Conspiracy theorists are like 144-0 right now. We're winning for real. So it's those things that create that, which is why I believe your statement is correct, that they were both mob families. But the way it's done now, with what's happened, with as much divide has happened, it's been pushed into a spiritual scenario. And that's where I love it, because people are realizing it does start at home. It does start with knocking on your neighbor's door and just saying hello, getting to know them. It's not like these crazy Republicans. You know what they do? They show up at your door. They say, hi, I'm Danny. I believe in God, family, and country. Can I get your vote and some money? What? There was a leader of the Republican Party that I took over. Frank, the old guy in charge, the old leader, made a comment that if the Hispanics want to be Republicans, they need to come to us. We're not going to them. What? They don't need us, first of all, schmuck. Secondly, what kind of statement is that to make?
Right.
And this isn't a city where Aurora is 48% Hispanic. What the hell are you doing in leadership? So it is indicative on us to eliminate our stupid voices. Our bad actors.
Amen.
It's to put them in check. Sometimes it's as simple as taking somebody who's a bad actor in a leadership role and moving him into a guardian role, which is like maybe data analysis or structure or secretarial work or stuff like that, and they would be effective there. Sometimes in the 5 voices of leadership, there's guardian, connector, pioneer, creative, and nurturer. You can't be a guardian and then sit in a pioneer connector's position. It doesn't work. Your brain don't operate that way.
So that back what you just said about the older Republican man, that is accountability.
Hardcore.
You have to hold your own people accountable.
For real.
Which we don't see on the other side, that I couldn't see anyway.
No, I have people tell me all the time, Danny, what the hell you do? What do you mean you took over the Republican Party? Yeah, well, there were a bunch of racists. Well, yeah, there were definitely some there. Don't worry, I beat them up. They're gone. I can't, like when someone tells me, well, the Republican Party of Aurora was a racist organization. The organization wasn't racist. The leadership was. Not the people that were in it. The leadership was.
Yeah.
And I can't deny that. So, hey, you're absolutely right. I went in and like a bat through hell, I'm now the first ever Middle Eastern chair. I got the youngest ever Hispanic chair. I got the first ever Korean secretary.
Nice.
It wasn't by accident. It's because of who came to that movement. They saw what we were doing and they said, we want to be a part of this. And skin color and religion and background fell to the side.
I think it's almost a comparison to fatherhood, okay? To me, I'm a father of 3 boys. I want to come at them with intelligence and logic. So they think my dad's a smart guy. He's making me think. But also, my boys still, they're all adults. They have a little bit of physical fear of their dad. And I've never beat them up. Of course. The last time I hit them, they had a diaper on. I spanked them. One time the button rumbled. But that fear, like I believe the world leaders have a little bit of that fear of Trump. But they have the same, at your level, they have a little fear of you, like you're
as well. They should.
That's what I'm saying. And it helps you be more effective. Yes, you'll come to the table with logic and reasoning,
of course.
But then on the same hand, I'm going out in the courtyard and I'm putting that flag at half staff, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. Right?
Correct.
So,
like, come arrest me, I dare you.
Yeah, and that's how I got to know you. I saw a
saw
video you made, and it just came in my feed because I'm friends with Jim Rabb. Thank you, Jim Rabb, for putting us together. And Jim Mendrick, he's going to be on the next podcast. He came on last Sunday. Then all of a sudden you came up in my feed, and I'm like, holy shit, that guy's a freaking, he's a tiger, man. And then, like you said, you showed a little bit of anger, but then in the end, you said, have a nice day, everybody. You walked out of there. And I could tell you, those people that were listening to you, they had a little bit of fear going through them. So
it's funny. It's this clown of a mayor, and I call him a communist because he is. His chief of staff is the socialist. She's the one that's the Democrat Socialist of America chairman, and she's the one calling the shots. And people are like, well, how can you call her a socialist and him a communist? Well, because socialists are smarter than communists. They know how to use communists as frontmen. Okay, they know how to use them as puppets to get their ways. And I'm not nice about it. Listen, I'm not going to come in here and treat you with kid gloves. In fact, if you watched the whole public comment, I even stopped talking to the mayor at one point. I go, hang on a second. This is on the rest of you as city council members. Yep, you guys allow his decisions to go forward. I'm coming for your seats as well. Like this ain't no joke. We're 180,000 people in Aurora. Total of votes cast for the mayoral race out of 180,000 people. Take a guess. How many do you think voted?
No idea.
Take a stab.
10,000.
Oh, well, that was the number that actually got him to win. 21,000 total.
That's it.
21,000 total out of 180,000 people.
Wow.
And the current mayor won by 375 votes because the Republican Party at that time, the previous mayor, and the Republican Party leader who I replaced, the Republican leader got emasculated by the old mayor. So some of the bigotry came out because the old mayor was a black guy too, and they didn't help him. And if they would have helped, we would have at least kept an American in there, not some communist socialist takeover agenda.
Here's what I know about you, though.
Give it to me.
No matter who you endorse, if they get in there, whoever you're endorsing for mayor,
they step out of line. I dare you.
Yes,
I dare you.
And that's the difference we're talking about on the sites.
I dare you. Like, here's the thing: if I put my name on you, you're allowed to screw up. You're allowed to make decisions that I don't even like. You want to know why? Because it can't be us winning all the time. It can't be how you know in business. For those of you that are looking to become entrepreneurs, the way you know you got a good deal is if both sides are not completely happy. It's called compromise. You can't please both. Because if you look at actual real Democrats, like Kennedy Democrats, and you look at us, the majority, about 90% of everything that we want is identical and the same. Mm-hmm. We have different ideas of how to get there.
Yep.
And those ideas sometimes will clash, sometimes will work in unison, sometimes won't work at all. That's what conversation is for.
Yep. I always said that too. Like if you put down a list of things we want in like a Venn diagram, it's almost one circle. And so
that just made me feel like Kamala Harris. I love Venn diagrams. Sorry.
But the thing is, there's some zero tolerance issues.
Yeah.
Transitioning children
Stay the hell away from it.
That's a no-no.
Age appropriate.
There's no compromise.
Listen, bro, I've dressed in drag on Halloween at some of my strip clubs I worked at. Let me tell you something. I make one ugly woman.
I was going to ask you that.
Bro, oh my God. I look like a hideous torta, as they say in the Latin community. I'm bad. But first of all, I got up on stage with the hottest girl in the club, and I made more singles than her in that little song was because it was funny. I've been to plenty of drag shows. There's a drag show that I never miss when I go to Vegas. There's this chick that does Liza Minnelli, and she co-sings with another one that does Tina Turner. And it's an amazing show, but everybody's adults.
Yes, I'm with you.
We're adults, okay? There is no way you're going to tell me. I love asking lefty liberals this question. Do you feel like a 9-year-old child can get a tattoo? Well, no. Well, how come? Because, that's permanent and it's something they have to think about. And they're not old enough to think about that. Got it. Do you think at 9 years old you can choose whether or not you want to be a male or girl? Oh, well, yeah, because that's how they feel. What? What is this? Like, we've broken these people how they think. They're broken.
They're broken. There's no, and you can't pull them back with logic. You just use perfect logic. Mm-hmm. You use their own logic.
No, you have to get their brains to glitch and break. And then they start questioning themselves. When they start questioning themselves, they go through that phase of, where they start getting really angry. At that phase, when you can start saying, just look at this and think, well, then how come I feel this and this is that? Because this, and that. Now, what do you think? And you continuously put it back on them. What do you think?
So let's talk about spirituality a little bit. You agree we're in a spiritual battle.
100%.
Do you think there's a great awakening on the spiritual God, Jesus side?
I'm legitimately one of them. Let me explain. My whole life, I'm 100% believer in Christ. I was an altar boy growing up, always involved in the church, believe in, the church. I would make the sign of the cross when I see an ambulance driving by. There is a huge difference between being a believer and a follower of Christ. There's a huge difference.
Explain.
Well, you can believe in Christ and you can say, yeah, if I believe in Christ and if I repent and yes, I'm going to do good things. And then I'm going to go to church on Sunday with my kids. And then on Monday night, I'm in the strip club snorting lines off of a stripper's butt. Wait a minute. Okay. So you believe God's there. You believe in Jesus. You believe in all these things. Like you believe they're there. You were just not living in them. Okay. And I did it. I'm a believer but I'm a follower of Christ only part-time. Let me explain. I would be a follower of Christ in a debate or a conversation, or when someone would hit me with, scripture and we would analyze it. And I can analyze scripture really well. We can apply it to modern times. I'm really good with all that. But when someone can actually sit there and throw out, Matthew 12, 16 and 8 says this, and like Bible warriors, nowhere near it. I know the stories. I know the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. I know Samson and Delilah. I know David and Goliath. I know the story of Cain and Abel. Like I know the stories. I went to CCD. I'm not a studier of them, right? I'm not applying. I'm thinking to myself. I made a comment to you earlier. I went to the devil's playground and I came out of it without a scratch because of my connection and of God around me. It wasn't my connection with God. It was God's connection with my mother, which shielded a protection over me. Is what it was. Okay, my belief in him is what made it worth him to protect me for my mother. When this whole Charlie thing happened, over the last year and a half, there's this young lady that works for me in my insurance agency, and I've somewhat become like a life mentor to her, and she is a full-blown Bible God believer follower, okay? And she would she would have conversations back with me about stuff like that. And we would talk about scripture and how come my family is damaged or how come my friends, like she can't believe all her friends and family that are saying these things about Charlie Kirk. She's blown away. Because I couldn't even believe that this evil existed. I go, well, that's because, no offense, you guys don't really talk about anything that's not about who's wearing what and what are the clothes and what are the gossip of the Real Housewives and this bullshit. It's all been programmed to you. She's a believer and follower of Christ. So it's been able to get her through a lot more. Me specifically, I got this huge kick in the butt after this Charlie thing. It really did, because of how big our media got and how many people are actually watching. When I make videos, I make a video, Frank, and within 15 hours, it's over 250,000 views. there's a real responsibility to that. And the way everything happened, it's actually funny. Your book is called Warrior because the Warriors grassroots group of Kane County, that day that Charlie died, they did an emergency vigil. And I was sitting in my office and I was swirling and spiraling out of control. I'm getting angry and angry as I'm looking at Twitter and all these things coming out. And I almost went live on my social media. And what I would have said that day, I guarantee you nobody would have been okay with me being the chairman of the party after that. They did this prayer vigil and I grabbed my gun and I went with the mentality of I'm going to go and stand and protect these people if someone comes and tries to harass them. We stood in a circle. Everyone started praying, and I'm into prayer. I speak to God. I do pray. But then, like just hearing all these people talk, I broke down. I got emotional. I've never cried in front of people before. And I told them, you guys are talking about Ephesians and this book and that book. I'm talking about David and Goliath. I'm praying that he gives me the power and the faith that he gave David to go swing that rock, when everyone else was getting crushed and defeated. And they responded back to it in kind. And then also continued to apply the Bible. And we talked. And since then, there's this one guy sends me a prayer verse every morning. And he sends it like 6 a.m. And I'm getting up at that time. So I've been starting my day, 30 seconds each day now. And 30 seconds has been adding to, minutes and then hours, and it adds up. But it's an intentional practice. If you notice, I haven't really sworn a lot here today. If you look at my videos 3 weeks ago, you're going to see a lot of swearing. So that's one active thing. That's one thing I'm specifically trying to do is get my language, my vulgarity down so that my message can hit more people. Because everyone listens to me. Everyone agrees with everything that I say. Then the moment I start going hardcore on the swear words, I shut a lot of people off. So being a believer and being a follower of Christ, I'm using the book of the book of Luke for this. In fact, one of the greatest pieces. It was a book of James, rather. I'm sorry, but there's a quote. I really wish I could have. I would have had this one ready for you ahead of time. I would have pulled it up. But there's an incredible quote. It's in the book of James because it's taming the tongue. But I sent it to. I got to grab the line for you, and I will text you this. It's something that says, the tongue heeds itself to be a stronger weapon than the sword. And I'm really good with a sword too. So now that I got both, I have to wield this power and this attention responsibly. And that's the difference between being a believer and a follower of Christ. That's
interesting. And back to these posts that I chime in on, the guy said, Charlie wasn't a martyr. He'll be forgotten soon. And I'm like, okay. I don't know if you're aware of this, but you can go on social media and see literally thousands of testimonials of people that going to church for the first time in years, and there's a resurgence back to Christ, and Charlie actually put that in motion. So he would not only he will be remembered, he just created an army, right? There's
a interesting meme that I saw someone post, and it's a picture of like Charlie Kirk and Jesus, and they're in heaven, and you can see but they're looking down on people, right? And Charlie and the bubble says to Jesus, Father, why did you take me so early? I could have brought so many more to you. And then God goes, no, son, I don't think you understand how many you actually did just bring to me. Because that's the reality of it.
And I've said those words out loud to somebody. I'm like, take a pioneer like a Thomas Sowell, for instance, who's 90 years old, and how much he's done to open people's minds. If Charlie would have lived to be 90, I don't believe he would have had the impact that this did. This, I think, was like an atomic explosion.
It needed to be, because the route that he was on, the path that he was on, if he had gone through to the age of Thomas Sowell, okay, it would have been, the next natural steps would have been eliminating the next sets of cabal groups, of evil groups that control the world. They needed to shut him up before that. They weren't going to let him get around that much. Thomas Sowell, as incredible as Thomas Sowell is, this guy started with, just straight pen and paper. There wasn't even, I don't think there was even television yet when he first really started, right? And you're just getting into radio, you're getting into television, you're starting it's television programming. So, programming is the key word there.
Yes.
These are all experiments as they've grown, and Thomas Sowell never got into that full swing. Charlie Kirk already was 90 years old. if you add in the era of the internet and social media.
I follow what you're saying.
Yeah, think about those two different things.
He had traveled the miles already.
Oh, yeah. And that's where it got scary. That's why they killed him. Okay, it was making too much sense to people. The only problem is when the Roman Empire killed Jesus, if the devil knew that he was good, because when they killed Jesus, they thought, all right, we killed Jesus, we've killed Christianity, it's done, it's going away. If the devil would have knew that he was going to rise 3 days later, do you really think he would have allowed the Roman Empire to kill him?
Yeah, so I'm going to pull up something that I did on Facebook. I've kind of retired the Charlie Kirk thing because I've said everything that I want to say, but I made my own little meme. It's a picture of the stadium, okay, with Charlie Kirk. And there it is. And I overwrote some words on there, and it says, "Shit, they're awake. The devil." Just like you said with Jesus. He's like, oh boy, you know.
There's a funny one. It's right along that. It's a picture of that, but it's a video cutscene. You ever seen the movie The Hangover?
Yeah.
He's like, we fucked up. And it says somebody calling the devil to report what happened or whatever it was.
Oh yeah.
It's a wild thing because you there has to be a belief in something. Even atheism has a belief in something. It's the belief that something doesn't exist. I always tell people, I did this experiment with a lot of people. I take a glass and I fill it up halfway with water. I ask them, is this half full or half empty? Go across the whole room. If I have 100 people in that room, 100 people will answer either half full or half empty. I said to them, you're all wrong. What do you mean? This glass is 100% full. Like, I don't understand. The water is 50% of it. The air is the other 50%. So how do you fill your cup? And they're like, oh, whoa. It's like the simplest things. It's like, guys, just look an extra layer. We're naturally creative people. We're explorers. We're nomads. If we look back at our caveman days before our DNA was altered, I did a shout out back to the Anunnaki situation. Heck, even if you look at those ancient alien stories, when they talk about the first race on the planet, which were the ancient Sumerians, which is where Babylon and Assyria came out of, which my people are connected to, the Assyrian side of me. If you look at those and they say, because the Anunnaki are supposedly the alien race that came down and helped build seed life here, right? There is actual template scripture and those carvings that they don't put on mainstream, but one of those tablets is the humans are asking, the aliens above, are you God? And they're like, no. Only God can create life. We manipulated life, but only God can create it. So even in a civilization 9,000 years old that are talking to frickin' aliens, they're referencing that there is still a divine God.
Yeah.
Come on. How much further you want to go here?
And the atheist, that's another whole discussion, but you believe something came from nothing, right? Which is more preposterous than there's a creator.
Correct.
Right? So that's part of the school thing and how they indoctrinate us.
Of course. Well, how can you be a Christian and believe in evolution? Because I believe God empowered evolution to happen. What the hell kind of question is that?
Right. So, yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
I truly believe that is the case.
All right, my friend. Well, we went many miles.
We did.
Anything else you want to add to where we went? I'm curious by nature, and I squeezed you like a lemon in the lemon squeezer. I got everything I needed from you. You
still got barely any juice today. That lemon could be squeezed for a while. If there's just, I don't know, this is the first conversation, this is the first podcast interview I've had that's been like long format, like someone interviewing me, right? Usually it's the other way around. I'm doing the interviewing. I don't know. My big take on everything that's happening right now, even based off our conversation today, there has to be a slight shift in mental focus. People need to start being a lot more relational and missional as opposed to transactional and finite. Okay? When I sell someone an insurance policy, for an example, once their paperwork goes through and they get charged their first premium, that's literally just the start of the relationship. You know what I mean? All the information we had to get ahead of time. Their medical conditions, their health, their all this stuff in order to create the deal. The deal's not done when it's there. We built the relationship to get the deal done. And then the mission now is to keep the policy on the books. It's to make sure the family is still protected. It's to maintain relationships with them. So when they have a new baby, we put that baby cover. We get that baby coverage. It's about being relational and missional. So if I'm looking directly at the camera to say this, I don't care if you are a Republican, if you're a Democrat. I don't care if you're white, if you're black, you're brown, you're pink, if you are an Apache helicopter. Regardless, you must learn to understand if we're going to survive as a human race, you must be relational and you must be missional. Without it, it's empty and it's hollow. And that's where evil festers because it has to fill the void.
I like to say it's not you against me, it's us against them.
Correct.
Right? And
Correct.
That is the spiritual part of it. The evil is controlling the earth, and they keep us divided with all this stuff. And I've fallen victim to it many times and still do, right? I get angry about something, and I'm like, no, this is manipulation.
It's funny you say that because I do want to give you one final thought as far as division goes, okay? Because there is a lot of division in our country right now. There's a lot of division on the planet. People often try to say, we need to end the division between us. That's not a real thing to say. That doesn't exist. Division will always exist. And I point out to two different examples. If you look at a lion pride in India, okay, there's multiple prides of lions. If you have a group of lions that are hanging out together and that's their pride, they're lions. When they come across another group of lions, either they get along or they fight and they battle. But it's still lions, okay? Same thing with monkeys. If you look at monkeys, they have their different groups and everything else, and some groups get along with other groups are territorial with others. Division will never not exist. The question is, how do we use our division to allow us to live together side by side? That's the question. Stop trying to eliminate division between people because that's like the drug war. It's never going to be won. I'm not worried about stopping division. I want to understand what's dividing us so we can come as close together as possible.
I love that.
That was final piece.
Well done, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
Very stimulating interview. You are good with a microphone.
Thank you.
I definitely support the mission you're on. I have noticed a commonality throughout this podcast with people who've come on that are in politics. They're all cored in God and Jesus. And that is the movement.
Have to be. So, if not, I am personally going to call you out and rip you to shreds and throw you out of the party. If you're not, I'm telling you, fair warning to all my fellow Republicans. If you wear the badge of a Republican and I find out you are anything but someone that wants to serve the people, I am the first one that will expose you. I'm not running for office. Okay? So I'm not worried about it. I will make you look silly.
Awesome. My friend, I want to shake your hand. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Danny Souri, what a great interview. Thank you for joining us today in the Warrior Podcast. This is Frank Lardino, and remember, there's a warrior inside us all. Thank you again, Danny.
Thank you, everybody. I didn't write the book to their game, to the psycho-leftist liberal game. I didn't write their book. I didn't write the rules, but I learned their rules, and now I'm much better at their rules than they are. You're going to get rich doing sales. You can make a lot of money doing sales. You'll become wealthy when you learn how to serve others. It takes a lot longer, takes a lot more work, and it takes a lot more relationship building, but it's not transactional anymore. It's relational. And that's been the driving force of me for like at least the last 5 years now. I believe that this is going to sound wild. God's plan is always going to protect you from your plan when your plan doesn't go the right way. Okay, so like my parents' plan was, you go to college, you're going to become a lawyer or a doctor. This kid, Danny, he doesn't shut up. He'd be a great lawyer. You know, their plan was for me to go to school. God's plan was not for me to go to school. And if I had have gone to school, can you imagine me right now, an indoctrinated leftist lunatic?
Oh, man.
You imagine how much of a problem I would be to society?
Dr. Evil.
If you look at a lion pride in India, okay, there's multiple prides of lions. If you have a group of lions that are hanging out together and that's their pride, they're lions. When they come across another group of lions, either they get along or they fight and they battle. But it's still lions, okay? Same thing with monkeys. If you look at monkeys, they have their different groups and everything else, and some groups get along with other groups are territorial with others. Division will never not exist. The question is, how do we use our division to allow us to live together side by side? That's the question. Stop trying to eliminate division between people, because that's like the drug war. It's never going to be won. I'm not worried about stopping division. I want to understand what's dividing us so we can come as close together as possible. Even in really, really dark times where it's, damn it, how are we going to do this? If you plug away enough, you're going to find an answer or a solution. It could be the most ridiculous thing. And if you end up, and because I've had this, I've gone, gone bust twice in my life. When you go fully bust, the only way to be like, all right, screw it, we're doing it again, is you have to kind of like almost remember, hey, you're at bust right now. So anything from this point forward is a step forward. Are you still behind in the story of, you can call it life or status symbol or whatever? Cool. Yeah, that's fine. But those variables are not going to change unless I do that, because no one's going to do it for me. You know what I hate is these videos where I'll be scrolling somehow, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, whatever, and I see this video of someone, whether they're trying to shoplift or they assault somebody or they're beating someone up on the street, and these people walk by and they're filming with their cameras. The heck is wrong with you guys?
I agree.
Where is the testicular fortitude in men these days?
I agree.
I don't expect it out of the women. I expect out of the women, make a bunch of damn noise so the men can show up. But where are the men? Big misconception out there, and this is something you all need to be careful of, especially if you're trying to be upcoming leaders. You have to be careful the circle you put around you, because you are the sum of the 5 people around you, okay? And when the people around you are around you because of what you're giving them or what you're providing for them without them adding to that mix, you're being used, Okay. And you might think they're your friends, your confidants. Hey, what do you mean? This is my best friend. They're with me all the time. Yeah. Because you're driving everywhere and you're always paying for food. You have to be able to recognize who's actually in it to be with you, to grow and to support you, or that's in it to, gain and profit off of you. There's two big differences there.